Good morning, guys. Okay, we have a few eyes popping up. We'll just wait for a few more minutes till we have a few members in the group watching us. Please let me know if you are able to hear me or not, because I'm not using a microphone today. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, Tina. Finally, you see me here. Okay, we have 17 members of the group joining us now. We'll just wait for a few more minutes for people to join us in. And we'll have a fun session in baking. Good morning to all. See a lot of faces. Hi Shikha, hi Hitul, hi Pooja, hi Tina, hi Mekhala, hello everybody. Hi Divya. Okay, although the live will be shared later after it has ended, I would want a few viewers to come across. So let's wait for everybody to come. Maybe a few of you. Hello, good morning. Morning guys. So excited to see you guys. Hi Sam. Hi Megha. Hello, good morning. Hi Jenny. Hello, good morning guys. Okay, so we have 50 members watching us live now. Let me start off. Okay, we'll start with a small thank you note to Tina. Thanks a lot, Tina, for having invited me over to start off with the Recipe Saturdays. Very excited to be here in this group. Okay, although it's a very simple demo that I will be doing today, I think it's going to be a fun-filled one. Okay, and please let me know if you're not able to listen to me. Just give me a thumbs up if you're able to hear me. Yeah, and as usual, the live, as instructed by Tina, I would be sharing the live as soon as I end this. And we will also tag the entire video with a hashtag saying Recipe Saturdays. Okay, so in case you guys want to get back to watching the video again and again, you can just search for it, okay, with the hashtag. Okay, so we have quite a few members now. Let's not delay. I'm not sure if I have to give an introduction about myself, okay, but then maybe not a formal introduction, but then let me introduce myself as Rumana Jaseel. I'm the owner as well as the pastry chef of Incredible Art based in Cochin. Okay. Yes, so I love working with confectionery as well as chocolate. So today we thought of doing a confectionery which involves a little bit of baking as well. We are going to do Florentines, okay? Yeah. Okay, so let me give you a small introduction about Florentines. It is possibly said to have originated in France, okay, and the pronunciation is entirely different. It's not. It's the English version is known as a Florentine, okay, but in French it's pronounced in a different way, which is Florentine, okay. So it's more of a cookie. It's more of a cookie. Okay, yes. I see a lot of pop-ups in between. I'm so sorry. Whenever Tina comments, I get a pop-up. Okay, so it's more of a cookie which is nut-based and is coated with chocolate. You can either use dark chocolate or milk chocolate or whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Okay, but Florentine is more of a nougat style, nut-based cookie. But then some of the cookies also have a short crust pastry base, which is known as pâte sucrée. Okay, pâte sucre is known as a short crust pastry in French. Alright, so we are going to work with each of these recipes in not in order, but according to how I will be able to execute the entire video. Okay, the entire live session in a couple of minutes. Okay, so maybe an hour or so. Yes. So shall we move on? I will have my team come onto the background because they'll have to handle the camera, and I will go towards the back side, okay, and start with the practical session. Thank you so much. So please let me know if you are able to listen to me or if you're not able to listen to me, if I'm not audible enough. Kindly let me know. My team member over here is going to let me know if you guys are able to hear me or not. Okay. So as I told you, Florentine is supposed to be a cookie, and we have to make our short crust pastry base ahead of time. Now, many times people do not use a short crust pastry base as a layer underneath. They just have the nut nougat, okay, and a layer of chocolate at times. But to give it a little more depth and give it a little more crunch and flavor, what we're going to do is we're going to have a short crust pastry base beneath the Florentine mixture. Okay. So firstly, what we're going to do is we are going to bake. Since this is going to take us some time, I've already made a sheet of the short crust pastry base, okay, and I have, I have cut it to the size that I would require. This is a 14 by 10 inch, okay, rectangle shape which I have cut into. Now, I will show this at the end of the session because I will have to make the dough, chill it for a while, and then I have to show you how to roll the entire dough into a sheet. Okay, but firstly, let me have this ready because we have very limited time, and what we could do is we can balance how we go about doing the recipe according to our time. So here I already have one sheet made ahead of time, and I'm going to bake this at 160 degrees for almost 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, so if you have a fan run oven, then you can bake it for a period of say around 15 to 18 minutes. But then if you have a deck oven or an OTG, it's going to take you a little more longer time at 160 degrees. Now why we do it at 160 degrees is so that even the cookie base inside this cookie base gets baked well, and you have an even color. Okay, you have an even color throughout the cookie base. So here I have my short crust pastry base seated on top of a net kind of a mat which is known as silpain. Okay, this is a silpain. Now, if you don't have a silpain, it's absolutely fine, because the reason why we use a silpain during baking of the cookie sheets is because we have circulation of air underneath. Okay, and in that case, you're not going to have, you're not going to have a puffed up cookie dough. But if you don't have a silpain or an air mat, as you call it, you can also dock your cookie base. Okay, so what you need to do is, I hope you know how to dock, guys. If you don't know how to dock, I'll just tell you that just take a fork. Okay, now I don't have to do this for my pastry base because it's already on an air mat. Okay, but then if you're not using an air mat, but you're just keeping it over a parchment paper or butter paper, then you just have to take a fork and dock the entire pastry dough. Okay, in intervals of 1 inch maybe. Okay. So this I really don't have to do for my pastry dough, but I am showing you so that you guys understand how it's done. Okay, so there's something also known as a docker which comes in the market. So if you get your hands on one of those, then you just have to roll the entire docker throughout the dough. Okay, so since I've done this on a portion, I might as well do it throughout. Okay. So we'll preheat the oven at 160 degrees. Usually people feel 160 degrees is too low a temperature for baking of cookies. Okay, you'll normally bake in between 170 and 180, but then I prefer baking my cookie at 160 degrees because I need even baking. Okay. Okay, let's wait for a few more minutes for the oven to be preheated. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken a ring which is of the size or the dimension that I required, and I've cut the entire cookie dough sheet, okay, according to the size of the ring that I wanted the Florentine to be in. So if you guys have any kind of mousse ring or a cake cutter, okay, you could use one of these to cut your, or you could also use a scale and a knife, guys. You don't have to really, but remember the dimension of the entire the base of the sheet is 14 by 10. Okay. So there can also be variations. Like for instance, today what we're going to do in the demo is we're going to have Florentine cookies in the shape of a small square, okay, which is exactly the same thing that you've seen in the cover picture of what Tina had designed. So, but you can also make it in different shapes. So if you want to make it in different shapes, you have to sheet your dough and use a cutter. Like for instance, if you want to make it round, then you just have to use a cutter according to the size of what you want to make, okay, and cut your the sheet of short crust pastry according to the size that you want to make, okay. But ideally speaking, if you're going for shapes, then I would recommend you to have a silicone mold which has a base dimension almost the same as what you would want to make. So probably I'll show you one of those silicone molds which I use to make the round shaped Florentines, okay. Round shaped Florentines are very it's a very apt shape for you in case you want to gift your your clients inside tins and you want the cookie to fit perfectly into the tin. Okay. So I shall give you the cupcake liner, the silicone one. Okay, our oven is preheated. We are going to bake this for an extended period of say around 15 to 18 minutes. Okay, so you don't have to wait for this to really turn nice and deep dark brown in color, golden brown in color. Just waiting for the subtle golden brown color, because you have a second stage of baking also, which is involved after you add the Florentine mixture over this. Okay, so the initial baking, you don't have to get it to a really nice and deep amber color. All right, so 160 degrees for in between 15 and 18 minutes is baking. So you can come forward. Just to show you that we have preheated the oven at 160. Okay, we are baking it at 160 and we have kept the time for 15 minutes. Okay. Okay, now this is exactly what I was talking about. You have these silicone cupcake liners which come in the market. You can use one of these. Now make sure that you use a giant cupcake mold, okay, for this. The smaller versions may not fit into your tin, like the tins that you get have a specific size of say around 8 centimeters wide, okay, in diameter. So the base is perfectly the correct size to fit into the 8 centimeter tin, okay. So in case you want to gift your clients with a different shape, that is round shape, then what you could do is cut your entire pastry sheet with a cutter according to this size, okay, and we can keep this the cookie inside it and pour our Florentine mixture into the cups here and bake. Okay, it's just that when you have to make multiple numbers, you will need multiple pieces of this. Okay. Okay, while that is baking, we are going to move on to making of our pâte sucrée. Okay, pâte sucrée is short crust pastry dough, which is also known as sugar paste. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm sure you guys must have downloaded your recipes that have been given to you. So you just refer to them. I'm not going to refer to the quantity that is taken over here. Okay, just remember that you will need approximately around 300 to 400 grams of that particular sheet. Okay, to make the entire batch of your Florentine cookie. So I've taken according to what I would need for making the Florentine cookie. Okay, so if you refer to your recipes, they would, the procedure would say cream, the butter and the icing sugar. Okay, but I prefer not doing that. What I would prefer doing is I would add all the ingredients into the stand mixing bowl, making sure that the butter is slightly chilled. Okay, and I would rub the entire dough. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to cream the butter. So there are two ways of making your short crust pastry doughs. One is by creaming the butter and the icing sugar well, and then adding the rest of the ingredients. Or you could also use the rubbing technique, okay, where you're going to add chilled butter and rest of the ingredients except for the eggs into the dough, okay, and into the stand mixing bowl and mix it with a paddle attachment till you get a nice breadcrumb kind of consistency. After which you're going to pour the egg into the mixture. Okay. Now for people who are eggless, who are looking for eggless options, if you don't want to add eggs, you can also replace the amount of eggs with a little bit of milk. Okay. So you can turn the entire, you can convert the entire recipe into an eggless recipe this way. Okay. So here I think I might have to keep this in the chiller for some time. So since this is very soft, I just keep it in the chiller for a brief, maybe 2-3 minutes before I start using this.
Someone is asking the brand of the oven you're using.
Okay, the brand of the oven that I'm using, that's a constant question that I get every time when I'm doing a class, guys. It's Unox. Okay, Unox is the name of the brand. So we'll just wait for a few more minutes. Now there's also baking powder in the recipe. I've added baking powder into the flour already. Okay. So I don't have baking powder separately placed here. I'm also going to add a little bit of vanilla extract into the eggs. For people who have attended my classes, who are attending this demo for the first time, that is my demo for the first time, you guys might be surprised with the very meticulous quantity that has been given in your recipes. Okay. Now, trust me, when it comes to baking, it's always better that you follow metric measurements or weight measurements instead of cup measurements. Okay. This is what a lot of chefs will definitely go by. So when it comes to even eggs are also weighed. So even if it is 62 grams, it's okay if you go minus or plus 2 to 5 grams. It doesn't matter. Okay, but try and weigh your recipes as accurate as possible. Your ingredients as accurate as possible. Okay. Any doubts being shared? So while we'll have a lot of time in between while certain things are getting baked, so you all can ask me whatever questions you all have, even if it is connected with some basic baking, then I will be ready to answer these in the group over here. Florentines are really basic baking, guys. Please don't ask me advanced questions. Okay. So we have the butter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add the flour in first, followed by the chilled butter. So the reason why I opt for a rubbing technique as opposed to a creaming technique is because the dough is a lot more easy to handle. Okay, if you're going to do a rubbing technique. Alright. If you're going to do a creaming technique, then your dough is going to be slightly a little soft, and you may not be able to manage your dough well immediately. You will definitely require at least an hour of chilling inside the refrigerator. Okay. So I have a paddle attachment over here. I'm going to use the paddle attachment. Now, people who don't have the stand mixing bowl, you could also use an egg beater, a normal handheld egg beater, okay, to do this entire thing. Or what you could do is you can put the entire mixture onto your slab and use a scraper to cut into the dough. Okay, that way you're going to create breadcrumbs. So we start on speed which is very low, that is speed 1. Okay, Shake, you can come forward. We start observing that the entire mixture becomes more like a crumb texture, a bread crumb kind of a texture. Once it approaches that bread crumb kind of texture, we're going to add the eggs in. Okay. Whenever you're making your short crust pastry base, please make sure that you're not going to knead for a very long time. You're just going to mix the entire ingredients until well combined. That's it. Okay. So the moment you have a dough forming, you're going to turn off the machine. You're not going to continue kneading for a very long time. So right now it's of a breadcrumb consistency. I'm going to slowly start adding the eggs. So for people who would want to change the entire recipe into an eggless recipe, you could also add milk. Okay, you just have to add milk in replacement for the eggs. but it's not the same quantity. The quantity will differ. You might have to end up adding a little less when compared to the amount of eggs. Okay, but usually, so don't wait for the entire mixture to be kneaded well with your paddle attachment. It's okay if it is like, so say almost 90% combined together. The rest you can knead with your hands, okay? So when you say kneading with hands, it's important that you don't use your fingers, but you just push down with the heel of your palm. So before I take the dough out, I'll put a little cling wrap onto the table counter to pack it up so that I can chill the entire dough for at least a few minutes before I sheet.
क्या icing sugar के replace में caster sugar और brown sugar?
Ideally speaking, it's supposed to be icing sugar that you're supposed to be using for your recipe. If you are going to use caster sugar, then you do not need that much of milk, okay, or eggs as compared to the original recipe that I've given you. So, if you're replacing it with caster sugar, then please make sure that you be careful while you add your eggs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the dough together. You see there's a little bit of powder left underneath. It's not combined well, as in the flour is not combined well. So I would dab the dough onto the remaining flour, get it all together. Keep this on your cling wrap, okay? And using the heel of your palm, you're going to press down. So you're not going to knead the entire dough, but you're just going to press down, okay? So don't use your fingers, guys, because you tend to overdo it. It's better that you sorry guys, there was a small hitch in between. So you have to flatten it out with your heel, with the heel of your palm, as flat as possible. The reason why we do this is so that the dough cools down quickly in the chiller or your refrigerator, okay? So wrap it up neatly and keep it refrigerated at least for an hour before you sheet it. So that's just about it. Okay? As usual, we're just going to clean up the counter before we move over to the next step. Just give me a moment, guys. So you all can ask me questions because we have some time. If you all have any questions.
Is that a dehydrator that you have next to your oven? Can you please let me know the brand and where it is available?
Guys, that's a dehydrator, yes. It's a brand name which is known as NutriChef. Okay, you might need a converter for this because this is a US product. Okay.
There.
Alright guys, so we have good evenly baked short crust pastry base here. I will have to cool this for a while before I pour the Florentine mixture into this. So this is going to cool down probably in an AC room. So I'm just going to keep it in the AC room for it to cool down immediately because we're doing a demo and we have to finish in a very limited time. Okay, so this is going to be passed on to my team and they're going to keep it inside the AC room.
Can we use this dough to make tart shape?
Yes, you can. Okay, you can use, but you cannot use this for savory doughs because savory tarts because it's a sweet dough. Right? Because it's a sweet dough, you cannot use it for savory tarts, but you can use it for all your sweet tarts. So moving on to the next step of making the Florentine cookie, we have the ingredients that are required to make the Florentine nougat base. Okay, so here we go. Okay, if you'll come forward, I'll just give you an introduction about the ingredients that are required. We have liquid glucose, okay, almond flakes, pistachio which is blanched and peeled, butter. Well, if you want to take salted butter, it's fine, but then if you're using salted butter, then I would recommend you to take away the salt from your recipe, okay? Don't add salt. We have sugar, castor sugar. You could also use fine grained sugar. You don't have to use castor sugar. But make sure, the sugar that you use is fine grained. We have a little bit of honey, okay, and milk. So if you guys have a thermometer that you use for baking, please, you're going to use that. If you don't have a thermometer, it's okay, it's absolutely fine because you're waiting for a soft ball kind of consistency. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to keep the nuts aside. We're not going to add the nuts now, but we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. So we have milk. We have sugar.
Yes, someone is asking the quantity.
The quantity of
Ingredients.
quantity of ingredients is as mentioned in your recipes, guys. Okay. The recipe has already been uploaded by Tina. Tina has already done that. So I've added milk. I've added sugar. I'm going to add honey.
Have you toasted the almond flakes?
No, I haven't toasted the almond flakes, okay? It's going to get toasted inside. When inside? Well, you can lightly toast it if you want, but don't toast it till it's like deep brown in color, guys. Okay? I'm going to warm up a little bit of, warm up the liquid glucose so that I can easily put it into the saucepan here. So we'll warm this up in the So liquid glucose goes in.
Name of the thermometer, brand name.
Brand name of the thermometer. Guys, this is a very simple IKEA product. Okay. See, when it comes to using thermometers, I would not recommend you guys to use really big brands because thermometers are, electronic devices which actually, digital ones especially, which actually give way over time. Okay, so there's no point, be it a branded product or even a cheap one, it's going to give way if you're not going to take care of it. So I do not recommend you, buying big brands of the thermometer. As long as you keep calibrating your thermometers on and off, be it a Chinese one or even a branded version, it's fine. So I've not added, I've kept these ingredients aside. I've not added the nuts, I've not added the butter and the salt. Okay, I'm going to keep this for later. But now I'm waiting for this mixture to dissolve first, as in the sugar needs to be dissolved inside the milk. So you can stir it till then. Even otherwise, because it has a little bit of milk in the recipe, to prevent the entire mixture from scorching from underneath, I would recommend you stir, okay? Usually when you cook sugar, you're not supposed to be stirring after the sugar dissolves because it gets crystallized. Okay, but here it's fine because you have honey and liquid glucose, it's not going to get crystallized. So I'm going to set the temperature of the thermometer to 120 degrees. 120. Okay. And you don't have to insert the probe right now because you're anyways waiting for the mixture to come to a boil. It's fine, okay? Meanwhile, what I'm going to do is I'm going to preheat the oven at 160 degrees.
Can corn syrup and liquid glucose be interchanged?
Well, yes, you can. Okay, but make sure that you're cooking the entire mixture to the set temperature. So I'm going to continue to cook this till it reaches 120. And once it reaches 120, I'm going to take it off the flame and add butter and salt. Just give it a stir in between because it contains milk. You don't want it to scorch. And please make sure that you're using a heavy bottomed saucepan, okay, while you're doing this. It's a very simple cookie, guys. It's just that, we're making it a little more technical looking. Don't get scared about, using a thermometer or anything. You don't really need a thermometer in this case. Okay, so you're waiting for a soft ball consistency. If you don't have a thermometer, you can also drop a little bit of this mixture into some plain water, okay, to check if it rolls into a soft ball. So I'm continuing to mix this. I'm preventing the entire mixture from burning from underneath.
this video be available later?
Will the video be available? Yes, we'll share the video. Okay, once we have ended the live, we're going to share the video in the group, and it's also going to be given a hashtag saying Recipe Saturdays, as Tina has told me. So whenever you want to search for it, search for all the recipes that are posted on Saturdays, all the live sessions will be available. So right now it's getting thicker, as in it's the sugar, the water is getting evaporated and the sugar is concentrating. It still hasn't reached the temperature that is required. It's still at 108, guys. So I will continue cooking this.
Is it high flame or no?
This is on high flame. When you're doing it on high flame, please make sure that you keep stirring it. This is in no way going to crystallize. It's okay, because it has honey and liquid glucose. So if you don't want to use almonds, or if you want to cut on the cost for of usage of pistachio, you can also use other nuts if you want. You can also make this with peanuts or cashew nuts. But traditionally speaking, a Florentine is made with blanched pistachio and almond flakes. So your recipes don't have French names, guys. It's just that we've written it in English. The pronunciation as well as the way we spell it is different in French. So this has approached 120 degrees. I'm taking it off the flame and I'm going to add the butter. This is unsalted butter, and because it's unsalted butter, I will have to add a little bit of salt. So I'm going to dunk in the salt as well. But if you're using salted butter, then you don't have to use extra salt that is there in your recipe, okay? So done. Wait for the butter to melt. And I'm going to add in the nuts one at a time. So we have the pistachios and the almonds going in. Mix it really well. So this is your mixture, okay? So even the flakes that you choose, the almond flakes, please make sure that they are like wholesome, they're not broken, because the Florentine is not going to look pretty otherwise, okay? Alright, so we have our short crust cookie base, which was baked and kept aside. I'm going to transfer this onto another tray, which just has a silpat. the reason why I'm shifting the tray is the base onto a silpat is because the air mat or the silpain has holes. Okay, it's more of a net kind of a material, so this Florentine mixture is going to go into the net and it's going to get clogged. So I'm going to spread the Florentine mixture all around, but be careful while you spread it all around, because you're not going to go too much towards the edge of the cookie base. Okay, you're going to leave a gap or a space of say around 3/4 of an inch. Make sure that you spread it evenly, and you have bits and pieces of these pistachios, because pistachios are very few in number. Make sure that it's available, it is spread everywhere across the base. So I'm going to guide the mixture, leaving a gap of say 3/4 of an inch. Now the reason why we have left a gap is because while the Florentine is inside the oven, the sugar is going to melt away and it's going to spread. Okay, so it is anyways going to get towards the edge of the cookie base. Some of them, they make the Florentines in such a way that they don't have the cookie base. They just bake the Florentine inside those cups to make it round in shape, and they coat it with chocolate later. So it's only a nut mixture. It does not contain the pati sucre. But you also have versions where you have the pati sucre used as a base. Okay, so this is just about it. I've spread it across, making sure that I've left a gap all around. And this is going in for baking at 160 degrees for almost 15 to 20 minutes till the entire surface of your Florentine turns nice and golden brown. Now, how you can make out is while the entire cookie is baking in the oven, since this is sugar that you poured over, the sugar is going to bubble up. Okay, the sugar is going to bubble up, and how you come to know that the Florentine is almost about to be baked is when you get a nice golden color evenly throughout your Florentine. Okay, and also the bubbles would recede, as in they would slow down and they would become more stable. Okay, so that's when you know that your Florentines are almost about to be baked. This is going into the oven. My oven is preheated. So at 160, and I'm going to turn the timer on to around 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Any doubts?
Can you please explain how this step is to be done in case of individual pieces?
How this step is to be done in case of individual cookies. Right? I'll show you probably while I sheet my dough, the dough that I had made. I will sheet that into a rectangular shape and show you how to make a rectangle shape. Also, if I have some dough left or remaining, what I can do is I can cut a small circle and show you how it's done there. Okay. I hope you guys are enjoying the class, the demo. We'll now move over to sheeting or rolling of our cookie base. Okay. Remember the dough that we had made. So it's been chilling in the refrigerator. Okay. So I'm going to take this out and put it in between two sheets of parchment. See, for people who have an establishment and you have a dough sheeter, then you can use a dough sheeter. But then for people who are working from home, you might have to use your hands, okay, to roll it. So,
Yep. How long to bake in an OTG? Can we bake with both rods on?
can we bake with?
Both the rods on.
Yes, you can. It's supposed to be baked like a normal cookie, guys. If you make cookies at home, okay, and you might be having a particular temperature at which you bake your cookies at home because you've been using your oven continuously, so you know your oven better. So you can bake at that temperature. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Storage and shelf life.
It's just like a cookie, guys. Okay? So you can store it for as long as you want. Say, don't keep it in the refrigerator because some of y'all, you must have come across certain tips where cookies that you buy off the shelf, like from a store, like maybe a good day packet, or remains nice and crisp and fresh when it's kept in the chiller, they say. Okay? As long as it's in the chiller, it's fine, but then when you take it out and keep it outside, storage comes outside, then it's going to be soggy. Okay? So, don't keep it in the chiller, just keep it inside airtight container. Because it is sugar, it's not going to get spoiled, but the moistness of the sugar is going to get into the cookie base and that's going to get soggy. Okay? So, maybe 2 weeks of dry storage in an airtight container and then dry and cool it. So we have our parchment paper, as in I've sandwiched the cookie base in between two parchment papers, and I will roll so when you roll one hand, the bottom of the sheet might crinkle, so just turn over, guys. Remember that your dough has to be chilled. It has to rest for at least a few, maybe half an hour or 1 hour before you roll. I'm going to turn over again because there's a crinkle at the bottom. Just straighten the crinkle. Okay, why I'm using a rubber band underneath is so that the parchment paper does not slip away. Okay. It's one of my favorite cookies, guys. So every you have to roll this evenly. Make sure that you roll out evenly. Because there are chances that you might thin the corners. Don't put pressure towards the corners. Put pressure towards the center and roll out. before you peel off the paper, please keep this in the chiller for some time. Okay, so that you can peel it off neatly and then bake. So I kind of cut it according to the size of the ring or the frame that I would be cutting it with. Okay, this is perfect. You can come closer to check on the Florentine here. Right now it's bubbling up really well, which means that it's not done yet and it does not approach that golden color yet. So we'll wait. Take the extras away so that I can show you how to cut maybe a round shape with the remaining dough. And I'm going to keep this in the chiller for a while before I can cut it, okay? This is going to go into the refrigerator. Okay, so I have a butter paper here, so I'll show you how it's done. Okay. Try not reusing your dough more than twice because as and when you sheet there is development of gluten occurring. So you're going to roll the dough. Chill the dough for a while. Okay. And after you've chilled the dough for a while, you're going to take a cutter. So you will have to measure according to the size that you would be taking. Remember that this has baking powder, so it's going to rise a bit. Okay. I would cut as per the size that I would need. The entire sheet is going to be cut. Okay. Sorry, I may not be able to lift this now, so I'll chill this and then I would transfer it into this.
What should be the thickness of the dough?
Around 3.5 mm. Okay, 3.5 to 4 mm. That's because it's going to rise up. Okay, a bit. So around 4 mm is fine. But if you're going to hand roll it, then the amount of dough that you've made for your recipe that I've given in your recipe card is just enough for you to make the size that I've told you. So you just have to take one parchment paper and divide it into two, and you can use that piece to roll all around. Okay. Yeah.
Instead of maida, which other flour can be used?
Instead of?
Maida.
Instead of maida. For the supreme. Okay, if you want to replace, then you could use almond flour. Okay, if you don't want to use maida, then you can use almond flour, but I do not suggest you all to use almond flour entirely. You can say go up to 60% of almond flour. You need a little bit of flour for your binding. So you come here. As I told you, the Florentine mixture is going to spread. Okay, so it's spread all over onto the silpat. You see? So this is the reason why we leave at least good amount of gap. So you can also keep a frame if you want, but it's not going to help much because it's anyways going to leak out a little. Okay. Yes, you can half the recipe. Stancy, you can half the recipe. Because I'm sure the OTGs may not, take up so much of. We still have 8 minutes to go. So guys, you can ask me any questions you all have. Let me just look at some of the questions that you've already asked me. Again, baking cookie will not burn or overheat. No, it's not going to burn or overheat because you have an additional product that has been baked over it, and that moistness is actually going to keep the cookie, from not burning anymore, not browning or anything. It will slightly get to a slightly darker shade, but not as much as you think. It will not burn. Okay. Okay, Manmeet, I think you're asking me how can you make this egg free? You can, it's only the patisukra base that has eggs. So what you could do is you can replace the eggs with milk for binding. Okay. Yes, but don't replace with the same quantity. You might have to add little at a time to bind it into a dough. On the patisukra, can I bake a brownie? Yes, you can. Why not? You can bake a brownie. Stopping of the bubbling implies that it is cooked. Yes. Later, the bubbling would reduce. It would not stop, but it would reduce. Okay? It would not bubble vigorously. So right now it's attained that even color, but the center does not seem to have approached that color yet. So we have 6 more minutes. So any kind of cookie there will be a considerable amount of wastage from the edges because you will have to cut it to the size, especially when you have squares or bars that need to be made like this. Okay. But you can also opt for a round shape where there's not much of wastage. Okay. Because when you pour your Florentine mixture inside that mold, it's not spreading away and it's not getting wasted. See, I could have kept a ring around it. Okay, I should have done that so that I would not waste much of the Florentine mixture. You can keep a ring around, but make sure that you have greased your ring before you place it around. if I add candied fruits and raisins and apricots in it. Okay, guys. See, candied fruits I would not really recommend because it's the surface area of this is pretty large and it's a thin sheet. So when you're going to add candied fruits, then what's going to happen is it's going to get burnt. Okay. So if you are adding candied fruits, then I would suggest you to add it when it is like halfway through, probably halfway through baking. Okay, because you don't want the candied fruits to get caramelized and burnt. And also, when you take it off the oven and you cool it down, the candied fruits get a little chewy. So they taste a little chewy. Usually, it's only nuts that the Florentine has. Shweta, yes, we'll be sharing the live after we have ended the live. So you can watch it later. Don't worry, guys, it's going to be shared. It's going to be saved for later. Okay, you might need 20 minutes in an OTG, but see, it totally depends. As the bigger the oven, the more the surface area, so you will need a little longer time. If your OTG is very small and your coils are very close, then you don't need much of time. So I think this is done. I'm going to take this out. Gaurav, I had to look at your comment. Thanks for joining in. So right now the Florentine is hot. It's just out of the oven. And in case you have bits and pieces like this, then I would suggest you to clear it off when it is warm. Okay, because later on when the sugar sets, you might find it difficult to slice and take the bits away. Okay, so when it is warm, you're going to separate the mixture that has seeped out of your cookie. So you'll have to allow this to cool down to room temperature completely before you spread some chocolate underneath. Now many of the chefs, actually including me, I don't temper my chocolate, but I chill my Florentine in the chiller so that it's nice and cold, and I would spread the milk chocolate behind. I'm going to use milk chocolate behind the Florentine, and I would pallet it. So while I pallet it on cold Florentine, the milk chocolate is going to get tempered and set. Okay. So, but here, since we're doing a live and it's more of a real-time live, this is going to be warm, so I will have to use tempered chocolate over. Now, for people who don't know how to use temper chocolate, you could also use compound chocolate. So it's not really necessary for you to use. But obviously, there's a difference in taste when you are going to use couverture as opposed to, compound. So right now, I'm going to keep this aside in an AC room for it to cool down completely to room temperature. Meanwhile, I'll answer to all your questions in case you'll have. Okay? Or you can simply take a 5-minute break. Just rest. Okay? So we'll just keep this aside now. Okay, so for your round Florentine, you have the Patisutra base, which is cut into a round, and I had chilled this so it's like firm and I can pick it up. So we put this in at the base of the giant cupcake mold, and please do not forget to dock. So you will have to dock this, okay, and bake this. Once it's baked, you can pour the Florentine mixture inside and bake again, like what we did for the entire cookie. Okay, so you just have to pour a spoon of Florentine mixture inside, spread it across, not entirely, not to the corners, because not to the edges, because it anyway is going to spread, it's fine. And you can bake this. Okay, I hope you got the idea. Okay, so we have our cookie dough that we had kept in the chiller. I'm going to peel off both the papers. And I would use a ring or a frame to cut the dough into the size that I would require. I would need. So this is a 14 by 10 inch frame. Voila, you're done. So if you don't have a sill pane, you will have to dock. So this is the very first thing that we did in the beginning. Remember, we had baked this. So this is only to show you how how to sheet it. Okay, so let me, we have a lot of time left with us. We are waiting for the Florentine to cool down before we coat it with chocolate. In between, let me check if you have any questions, guys. When you're cooling inside the chiller to pour your Florentine chocolate, do we have to cover it? No, it's not necessary, because you're keeping it for a very brief period of time. Not, you're not chilling it to a level that the core is chilled. Okay. Which is the OTG that you're using here? Okay, this is not an OTG, this is more of a convection oven, which is of a brand name called as Unox. Okay. Let me move up, guys. I'm sure I might have some questions that I need to answer. Okay. And there doesn't seem to be many questions. How many minutes to bake if using a cupcake mold? Is the temperature the same? Yes, the temperature is the same, and you're looking forward to bake it till it's nice and golden brown in color. Fibita, okay? Asifa, you're asking me if it makes a difference while we're cooking the Florentine mixture on an induction or a stove? No. No. There's no difference. You can do it on an induction or you can do it on a gas stove. Okay? Yes, guys, the recipe cards are already shared. I think Tina's created an album, so you can refer to them. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes before we have the Florentine here, guys. Archana, if you're using the frame for baking, yes, there will be a limitation. As in, it would not spread as you have seen here. Okay, it would spread a little, but it's going to stay within that border of the frame. So don't worry, you can use a frame, but make sure when you're using a frame, you either grease it really well, or if you're not greasing it well, it's fine, it's absolutely fine, but you're going to remove the frame immediately after baking, okay? So immediately after baking, you're going to remove the frame so that it doesn't stick to your Florentine. It's very simple, guys. I think you can, when you make it, you'll get to know. Is someone baking along? No, I hope not, because it's going to be difficult for you guys because the recipe was just posted a few minutes before we started the live. That's for sure. Okay, so we're going to use milk chocolate. Calavo 823 is what we're using to spread on the backside of the Florentine. Okay. Done. Okay, I'm not waiting for the Florentine to cool down completely, as in it's not going to be chilled, but I might have to, I'm using tempered chocolate to spread across. You can also use compound chocolate. Okay.
Can we use any other dry fruits instead of almond and pistachio?
Yes, you can use dry fruits, but be careful when you use fruits. Okay, dehydrated fruits may not be a good idea because when you're baking, they might get a little too crunchy and chewy, after it's been baked. So if you're going to add fruits, then you can add fruits. You can sprinkle them halfway through your baking. So here I'm going to invert. I'm going to invert the Florentine cookie that we have. Okay, made upside down. And we have some tempered chocolate over here. We also need a scraper. So if you have a comb, a cake comb, you can use a comb just to get a small design over if you want. That's how it's traditionally done. Okay. Now we will put some chocolate right in the center and spread it across towards the four corners. Need to pour some more in the center. After which so if you're using a smaller, there would be a small bend on your Florentine sheet. If it is bent, then so before it starts setting, you could use your comb, okay, and create a pattern. So we'll wait for this layer to set.
Was the almond blanched?
No, the almond flakes are already blanched and you get them ready made, the flakes. So to cut your cookies, you will need a serrated knife. Okay, you're going to need a serrated knife. I'm just waiting for this layer to set.
So what's the shelf life?
You can keep it for 2 weeks, nothing's going to happen. It's just that, when you keep it for a longer time, the short crust pastry base is more susceptible to take up the aroma from, if you're storing it with something else. So please make sure that you store it as is alone in an airtight container. Okay. After a week, it will start getting soggy. So as long as 2 weeks in it, really airtight, a good airtight container, it's fine. So if you're going to store it with something else, then the cookie base is going to pick up the aroma from that. So try not storing it with any other cookie, guys. Just waiting for this layer to set. It's almost there. Just the center needs to set.
Which brand of chocolate is used? Which brand of chocolate?
Calabo. The chocolate that I've used here is Calabo milk chocolate 823 plus. Okay, almost there. So you will have to trim a little bit from the sides so that you get, you have your clients get the best piece. So you can also use dark chocolate if you'd wish to. There's a small portion which is not setting, as in this entire strip is not setting. The rest is all set. So I'm waiting for that to set. Doesn't set quickly, then I might have to just keep it in the chiller. Just keep this in the chiller for maybe a few seconds and take it out.
Is it suggested to put it in a AC room?
No, if you're using compound, then it's not needed. But then if you're working with couverture, then make sure that your Florentine cookie base is chilled. Here we go. I'm going to turn this upside down now. And remember, I told you that you have to use a serrated knife, okay, to cut it. I think what would be more easier for you is to use those cupcake molds in case you're lazy to cut threads, because this is kind of a very tedious procedure. Okay, so we are going to slice. We're going to trim the edges. So I will do it in order. Okay, so say around 3 to 4 centimeters strips. Don't press into your cookie base because it's going to cut it distorted. If you want a neat finish, then I would suggest you to go in the sawing motion, okay? For people who are lazy to trim and cut, then you can look for a different shape as well. That is the round shape that I've shown you. So that will save you the trouble in, sitting and cutting your bars. I think in one, you would get approximately around 70, not sure, maybe 50 to 70 of them. If you're going to cut it to the size that I've told you, okay? So I just turn this around. Cut it into squares after you cut them into strips. Chocolate is not stuck underneath, guys. Ideally, it's better that you spread some chocolate 390, 8 to 390. I don't know. Melty में प्रश्न है. No. Okay, I'm just going to change a few of them because they don't look evenly colored for me. Any questions being asked? No? Okay, let me just clean up the work counter so that we can. I hope you guys have enjoyed the demo now on Florentine. And thanks so much, Tina, for having invited me over. I know you've been after me since 2 weeks, and I'm so sorry, guys, but I was stuck up in a containment zone, so I wasn't able to get out of my home. So this is the reason why we had to delay the recipe Saturdays. It's really nice that you've taken up this initiative about sharing knowledge, Tina. Yeah, I'm hoping to a few more demos coming up. Hoping to see you guys. Yeah. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this live, and this live is going to be shared as soon as I'll finish the live. I will share it with the hashtag that Tina has mentioned. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Okay, so shall I end the live now, Tina? Okay, I'm just waiting for a heads up from Tina. Yes. Thank you, guys. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you.